Hear ye, hear ye! The Parliament of Geeks shall now come to order!
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 20th edition of the Parliament of Geeks. Yes, we've been doing this 20 times over, and somehow we haven't gotten the hint. And we never will.
Everybody else has to get the hint.
Care.
I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have 1, 2, 3 good brothers. We have the Wanderer of the Shadow Realm, the man who is trying to run at the speed of sound, not doing a good job of it. Good brother Akira. We have the man who is more of a blue than every Blue Ranger you know, and even more blue than Eiffel 65. Good brother Matty. And we have the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadare Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
The Dari Enterprises would like to remind you that Cyberpunk 2077 is not in any way, shape, or form pro-cop, and anyone who thinks it is delusional and needs to exit reality.
Yeah,
or needs to come back reality, delete as appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Look, I don't believe in hitting a man while he's down. I believe in kicking him because that's easier.
Exactly.
So, normally with some works we describe them as corny, but in the words of LA Knight, I'm seeing how this work is looking at each other, and it's more like horny.
Yeah.
But I can't. Usually with these sort of things, I try and build things up to kind of give you a taste for the adventure that we're going with. But this one,
this one is very simple. We had a moratorium on this, and we're going to call it right then and there. This is literally phrasing the anime.
Cast your mind back to a few months ago when we did a moratorium, which is us saying we are not going to use this riff because we'd be running it into the fucking ground.
I.e. any other Tuesday for RVT.
When we covered Season 1 of Record of Ragnarok. And because of
we couldn't use tits anymore.
We couldn't because we would have used it every time Aphrodite shows up.
Every time she talks because her boobs talk for her. And she has 2 stone golems that hold them up for her.
So I figured it was going to be redundant.
Heavy tits.
And with this one, we had to play some more. Before we even started, I think we placed a moratorium on phrasing because otherwise we would have been using it every 5 minutes.
We were, I think, halfway through episode 1 of this, and then we decided, we all agreed on that.
I think I put it forward.
And we had a hard time living up to that moratorium, let's not lie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh. But Kampfer is some, for starters, I don't even remember who suggested it. I think it was Zan who suggested I put it on the wheel. I'm not going to speak for him if he did.
I did not, actually.
I know that somebody suggested it, and I know it was not me.
I'm pretty sure it was JT.
Wasn't me.
Kempfer's been on the wheel for a long time. It was like during the first batch when you were asking for stuff for Parliament, Monk.
Yeah.
So this is where things do get a bit tricky. This was a late 2000s work. That's when it originally aired for 12 episodes. A second season was intended to air, but the season was scrapped midway through, and the episodes that were made were added as extras, which we did not watch. This started out as a light novel series by Toshihiko Tsukiji. And
pervert.
No, we've been through this. They are absolutely a pervert. I looked at their other novels when we first started, and Let me just pull that up again real quick. Since Flutter is here, I'll have to take his place.
The other major project of
Maburaho.
Yep, is Maburaho, which is slightly less horny, but it is a harem series, so I'm grading on a curve here.
He also did script work for Strike Witches.
Yep.
But he also has manga like Sexual Hunter Riot, which, if I remember correctly, was about fighting Oni with your sex drive.
Yeah.
So they were fighting otherworldly beings using sex before Franks did it. Before it was cool.
Long story short, they didn't. Some of those monsters they didn't know they were coming or going.
Yep.
The only one I could say isn't horny bait from him is Hayate no Gotoku, or otherwise people would say it as Hayate the Combat Butler.
Yep, but and the reason why I'm hesitant to even say he with this and just using it out of habit is, as far as we know, Tsukiji could just be a pen name. Since I'm pretty sure the writer doesn't make a whole lot of public appearances.
The writer doesn't make public appearances, and while Japanese does not have a lot of gendered language, there is still gendered language. If they had used things like ore or boku, you could have more easily maybe pinned them as a man. But when in their own Twitter profile, they just use ito, which is person. And the translation is roughly a person who writes light novels. I like foreign dramas. The cat in the picture is called Zeus, and it is a very cute cat in their picture.
Yeah.
So,
which once again, what that tells me is I know it would be very tempting to apply the of course a guy who's never seen a woman ended up making this. But we do not know that. And
not to mention the fact that a bunch of something that we still have to continue to say to this day is go look at most of the doujin authors out there in the comiket market. Oh, Mark, that is a redundancy.
Yeah.
Comiket is a redundancy, but out in Comiket, who are at their booths,
Comiket dealer's room or artist's alley. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Comiket is one giant artist's alley, but yeah.
We're trying to simplify for the simpletons out there, okay?
Yeah, it's an expo all about doujin authors, and those of you who hear doujin are most likely bleeding at the nose right now because you don't realize that doujin just means self-published. However, Comiket has a lot of porn, and a lot of the porn doujin are written and drawn by women.
And all three, I think all of us have had at least one story of some lady friend we knew who was far higher on the horny scale than any man.
I already told you about my friend in high school who used the corner computers. We've already had that story.
Yeah. The point is that there is this narrative that the horny scale favors one gender. Anyone who believes that is lying to themselves.
Anyway, before we get too far, boys, we do have that tradition.
Oh yes. But before we dive into the shit show fully, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to rise for our drinking anthem.
Skål!
Skål!
Hola!
Because Lord knows we needed it for this one.
Sound the yellow horn! Eventually! There it is.
Bit early there, Maddie.
I don't have the timing John has, let's be fair.
Yep.
This is true. But I think John has a lot more practice than any of us. So
Very true. And I'm not a Vikings fan. Sorry, Monk.
he's not a Vikings fan either.
I'm in all. I don't play favorites. I just use the Vikings pain as a riff.
Fair. But you're local, so you have to feel some of the heart attack.
Well,
that's
I get
cool.
you end up going through as much pain as I do when it comes to Sens games, especially
Sens
that knuckle
games,
puck.
Habs games, fucking Red Blacks games. Jesus. Anyway,
Yeah.
rails.
So no, I'm pretty sure both myself, you, and Coops can relate to sports ball related pain.
Indeed.
I'm sorry, Goops.
Hey, at least I get to make fun of Brandy yesterday for her Patriots losing 28-3 and not even coming back.
Oh, yup, yup, yup.
You know what?
Now,
That in the business is what we call a receipt. Now,
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
getting to the matter at hand. I think the first thing that I want to check is who was involved with the animation, because I know it was aired on TBS, but that doesn't tell me a whole lot. So
Nomad Incorporated.
Nomad Incorporated. Let's see what else they've done. Let's see.
Rosin Maiden.
Desu.
Yes. I'll shut up now.
Yep.
Yep.
Hime-sama Goyojin, or Princess Be Careful. Haven't seen it. Chokoto Sister. Sola. Kyoren, Kazoku, Nikki. Yozakura Quartet. I remember hearing about that, but I haven't seen it. Modern Magic Made Simple. We Without Wings, which looks like it was based on a visual novel, just based on the visual.
Chronicles of the Going Home Club.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big one.
Yep. Futariwa Milky Holmes. I remember hearing about that a lot, but that was a collaboration with them and JC staff. Venus Project Climax, which says all you need to know. Dropkick on My Devil, which I have not seen, but looking at the manga cover, maybe I should.
$2 says the dropkick's not as good as Kazuchika Okada's.
No, but few people are. But Maddie, let me show you the cover so you can see why maybe I should consider looking at it.
Oh my god.
I'll break your back and make you humble.
I was gonna say Hatsune Iron Sheik over there.
Mm-hmm. Bungo Stray Dogs 1. I have seen Bungo Stray Dogs, and that was a collaboration with Bones. Komiko, I haven't seen. And
Wait, Chemo is a actually pretty nice rom-com.
yeah, and Alice Gear Aegis expansion, which is based on a mobile game. And I know some people will say, well, that probably isn't good. It's based on a mobile game. We remind you all, 7 Nights.
Yep. They also did Ichigo 100%, or at least a few episodes of it, but that was a huge undertaking with
Yeah.
like multiple places.
With Madhouse, DR Tokyo, and Office Takeoff. A Sola OVA. Kaito Tenshi Twin Angel. TP Sakura, or Time Paladin Sakura Jinku Boensen.
Jiku Boysen, yeah.
Apparently based on the Da Capo series, which I'm aware of but haven't seen. And
Oh, they're good.
apparently they also were involved in the opening and ending cinematics for Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, which is actually a pretty good game.
Yep.
They were founded by a bunch of former Madhouse and Studio Pierrot staff. I noticed that a lot of they tend to focus on the cute end of things.
Mhm.
But that's as far as the animation studio. The director is Yasuhiro Kuroda, who has directed Myself, Yourself. He also founded Studio Axis, AXSIZ, because poor literacy is cool. He's also known under the moniker Ozo. And let's see, he was involved with Kyoran Kazakuniki, Angel's Feather, was a supervisor in Burn Up W.
Good shit. Good shit.
Yep.
If you want an understanding of what Axis does, since he helped establish it, the most recent things they've done have been ecchi series, World's End Harem, rom-com series, The Dreaming Boys Realist, and the most ridiculous fucking light novel isekai ever, Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wonder the Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hate that one.
Let's see.
Being reborn as a sword makes sense. Being reborn as a vending machine is stupid.
How's that a real feel there, bud?
Yep. Was an episode director for a few episodes of Full Metal Panic, as well as a few episodes of Fushigi Yugi. Was a director for one episode of Guardian Hearts. And a director.
But then the director for the sequel.
Yep. Nakaimo, My Sister Is Among Them, was a producer. Saber Marionette Jada X was an episode director for a couple episodes. Saber Marionette is drugs.
I love Saber Marionette. It's so good.
Yep.
It's good. It is also drugs.
Was a series director for Shadow Skill 2. Shadow Skill is one of those early entries that I don't think gets enough love.
It's really good.
Was a single episode director for Speed Grapher, which is really fucking good. Was a episode director for The Swiss Family Robinson, Fiona of the Mysterious Island.
I think it's Flan.
Flan.
Yeah, Furone, Flan, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And was a episode director for 4 episodes of Tenchi Universe. So him and his studio have been around.
And then the primary writer for the episodes was Kazuyuki Fudeyasu, who Monk and I are very familiar with, considering that he wrote episodes 16, 19, and 22 of X.
He's done stuff with X, Mirage of Blaze, Princess Resurrection,
Hajime no Ippo,
Bento, which I think anybody who's a fan of Food Wars should look at Bento if you want it even more stupid.
Hitalia Axis Powers, Valkyrie Romans is the Order of Rabbit, Black Clover, Recovery of an MMO Junkie, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, also on Dropkick on my double.
Needs to be on the list, by the way, if not already.
Which one?
MMO Junkie.
Recovery of an MMO Junkie, or have we done that already?
We haven't. It's 10 episodes in an OVA, so it would fit the format.
We should. It's a good one.
It's good. It's real good.
Well, it's going to depend on where the wheel lands, but I can add it to the list.
But things that are very popular that he's written series composition
it's already
for.
on the list.
I told you.
Nice.
Things that are very popular that are in modern day that people should recognize. Reincarnated as a Slime, Demon School Ira Makun, Interspecies Reviewer, Bungo Stray Dog 1, Redo of Healer, Land of Leodale and Immoral Guild, and now the new one, which I've watched the first episode of, Shangri-La Frontier. That's a really good one, too.
Apparently he's also going to be working on one that's supposed to come out next year called 'Tis Time for Torture, Princess.
Oh, is this... Yeah, I know what this one is.
Which,
Mildra.
Yeah?
I want to put interspecies reviewers on the list.
No.
We should.
Please.
There is nothing that we can add to discussion of that one that hasn't already been covered. That's the reason why I'm saying no.
Good effort, Coops. Have some steak.
But as far as tis time for torture, princess, maybe I should take a look at this given the cover, because if that's what constitutes as torture, I get the feeling it's going to be some shenanigans, especially since torture is in quotes, as you can see on the title. And
Well, tis time for torture, princess. As the premise
yeah,
is, she's captured with her holy sword, and they can't actually be tortured due to rules of engagement, and the Grand Inquisitor's name, by the way, is a Tortura.
which sounds like a Sentai general's name.
Mm-hmm. And it's all about trying to tempt her with food.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny. I love it. Oh, look at that! He also did writing for Record of Ragnarok.
Why am I not surprised?
Because half of the things on this list are ecchi in some sort of nature.
Yeah. Now I know there's a trend in a lot of places to clutch one's pearls about ecchi. I know that some of our colleagues do not have the same opinion as I do regarding it, but the attitude that I have maintained on the subject is, I find that the people who are willing to admit that they enjoy it have far better character than the people who jump on the fainting couch about it. And sure, that means we may not be. It means that my temple may not be the darling of the city fathers, who stroke their beards, cluck their tongues, and say, "What's to be done with this Mildred the monk?"
Wow.
I understood that reference.
Golf clap on the Ace Simpsons reference.
The point is that whenever I see people getting up in arms about a particular anime being too horny or having fan service or the like, I usually say get filtered, because it's very clear that they're the equivalent of that otter who is in pain eating a watermelon but keeps eating it anyways. Like
Better meme. It's the guy riding the bicycle saying "fucking anime."
What's wrong with you guys?
Saying "fucking anime," then sticking the stick into his own spokes and falling over.
yeah. Whereas the people who are willing to admit that they enjoy it, you're not going to see that problem, because they are not so self-conscious about it.
Motherfuckers, I have both interspecies reviewers and World's End harem on my hard drive. Fuck y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And redo of Healer.
Which,
I have wrestling on my hard drive.
yeah, and
That's homoerotic enough.
plus, let's not forget that everybody keeps romanticizing the Attitude Era. See, I'm willing to, if people are willing to play that game, I will play as dirty as it gets. I didn't say I was, but we know, you and I know people who think that was the greatest thing since sliced bread, because they never saw a full episode of Raw, just clips.
They never lived through it.
Mm-hmm. Although, we did learn the hard way: never give Terry Funk a chair.
No. Or never let Terry Funk ask for a chair.
Because if he does, well, he's getting one, and another,
and another, and another, and another, and another, and another. You get the idea.
until the whole thing is just full of chairs and and Joey Styles is saying, "Please don't throw chairs in the ring. Too late." But getting to brass tacks before we get on the rails, I do want to note that each of the episode titles this has bastardized German. In fact, there's a lot of bad German in this. It's almost as bad as the Russian in any John Wick movie.
Actually, most of the titles are correct. There's only one title that is incorrect, and it's one of the episodes we didn't watch anyway.
Mm-hmm. Because as mentioned before, there were a couple episodes that were intended for a second season. It just didn't happen.
Yeah, Kampfer für die Liebe.
Mm-hmm.
Which were 2 OVAs 2 years later.
And
now,
one of our policies is that when it comes to OVA add-ons, we don't watch those.
Yep. Not unless they are basically finishing the story. Like, if we ever do Real Life, we have to watch the OVAs. That actually, the entire reason they had to make an OVA was budgeting concerns. Yep. Now, one last thing I'd like to note. We are actually doing this episode on the 14th anniversary of the original air date of the first episode.
Huh.
Timing.
World.
October 2nd, 2009, October 2nd, 2023. 14 years later, we are finally giving it our idea.
Mwah! Good night, everybody.
So, I think the way that this starts out is, first off, the episode is called Schicksal, the Chosen Ones.
Schicksal erabare Shimono.
Mm-hmm. And if I end up mispronouncing any of the German phrasing here, I want everybody to know that I don't care.
and I'll try to correct him, but I want everybody else to know I don't speak German.
Mm-hmm. We are not members of Steiner Scout Squad.
No.
You'll notice we're not even technically pronouncing this correctly. It's supposed to be Kampfer instead of Kampfer, but we don't give a fuck.
It's calling it Kampfer.
That is correct. It does not matter what his name is.
But I think the first thing that we have is what looks like a nightmare of a blue-haired girl running from a red-haired girl who's firing a fucking 1911. We can't escape it.
But 2 world wars.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the monk right now.
I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground. I want to go to the middle of the night. I want to piss on his ashes.
But
Then again, that's the day that ends at Y, though.
yeah, but the same girl waking up in her bed and realizing that she's been gender swapped, and the first thing that she sees is a doll with its intestines sticking out. The doll's name is Harakiri Tiger, and tells the girl, and I have to use quotes because the gender thing is going to get ridiculous throughout this, so I have to stick with whatever is appropriate as best I can. So imagine air quotes with each one. That she was chosen to be a Kampfer. Except the details aren't exactly well given out. That she's been chosen to fight, and this gives us one of our running gags, and that is stuffed animal abuse, because it's not long before the tiger gets thrown in the trash, and me making a Kobe joke.
Yep.
But after a switch back, he ends up missing the bus and meeting up with his crush Kaede Sakura, who does make some interesting comments about a series of stuffed animals called entrail animals, but it's not seen as a big deal. Midway through the conversation, his bracelet starts to glow, so he has to leave before he ends up transforming in front of her. Because yes, these, as Zan would call them, slap bracelets, is the transformation gimmick, complete with a magical girl transformation sequence, because this whole show is one giant Maho Shoujo parody.
It's also here where we get much of the cast murdering German as well.
Mm-hmm. And I'll let you continue on, because unfortunately I'm not going to be able to talk as much because I'm still recovering from a nasty cold.
Yes. So when this other girl appears with fiery red hair and the 1911 he dreamed about, and he transforms, he keeps running, and Kaede starts following, wondering what's gone. And then, as they're confronting each other, where they think they are away from people, eventually Kaede shows up, and Natsuru has to save Kaede from this weird red-haired chick with a gun, and fires a fireball out of her hand, and saves Kaede.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, he also has to save Akane, as the name of the red-haired girl is, from the lamppost that he just blasted. And,
like you do.
Yep. And that day's extravagances end. The next day when he goes to school, eventually a shy girl with glasses calls him out of his classroom and into the library, and he finds out that she's the one who is shooting at him, except she's really shy and reserved comparatively. Akane gives Natsuru the skinny on what being a Kampfer is, which is including, oh yeah, we've got blue slap bracelets. We've got to kill the red slap bracelet bitches. Why? The moderators say so. But they are allied because they have the same colored slap bracelet. And later on, Kaede finds Natsuru, who is a boy right now, and says, I really like that girl that saved me. Can you find her for me, please? And he's all fucking depressed about it.
But I
So
wanted to fuck her as a dude.
Yep. So he later goes to find Akane and ask for advice, but when he does, they're attacked by another Kampfer who has long chain daggers. And they don't see who she is, but when they get away and find the wreckage, Kaede's there, so Akane assumes that Kaede is the Kampfer that fought them, and shoots at Kaede. That's technically the end of the first episode. Lots
Now,
of things and lots of jokes occur. as well.
Lots of jokes, lots of porn, lots of boobage. I'm just gonna take care of the business end of this joke now, because at this point, from now on, it's literally this:
Bosoms, melons, milk factories, busts, fun bags, knockers, ballistics, boobies, jugs, nipples, jubblies, stonking great tits.
Apparently, female Natsuru's tits are the best out of the group, too, according to the rest of them. But we'll get to that. Something else, another joke that's been going on that I should note now before it becomes relevant later. Every episode, up until a certain point, Natsuru is getting postcards from his childhood friend who is currently globe-trotting, Mikoto Kondo. And those are some nice little cut-in gags from time to time.
Especially
But with that, we move.
each one specifically points out where she is at any given point, and she gets around between episodes.
Yep. from Africa to Central America. There's a lot of places she goes. But that moves us on to episode 2. Gluen, Stono Kaimaku, or Glow, the fight of death starts. Obviously, Natsuru's not going to allow Akane to shoot Kaede, and so blocks it off. And because of that, the person with the chain daggers escapes when the class bell rings. But because of that, Natsuru, in a rare moment of insight, clarity, and intelligence, and when I say rare, you will see rare, realizes that because they left when the bell rings, they are also somebody who attends the school, and now becomes wary of every other girl in the school. But both he and Akane get pulled into the student council president's room, her name being Shizuku Sango, asking about what happened to the library. But getting no straight answers because they're at least smart enough not to let shit loose. Kaede manages to weasel a promise from Natsuru to see girl Natsuru. And Akane and the now 2 stuffed animals, because Akane's messenger, which is what the stuffed animals are called, Seppuku Kuro Osagi, or Black Seppuku Rabbit, has joined in on the fun. And of course, the continued abuse occurs whenever they give them lip. But those 3 suggest that in order to make things safe, make Kaede hate female Natsuru. But Kaede asks girl Natsuru out. At that point, though, Natsuru finds out that the student council president, Shizuku, is actually an enemy red Kampfer. And Natsuru and Akane are having a lot of trouble fighting her, because she's actually really, really skilled, but they eventually manage to stop her. And at that point, Shizuku's like... Shizuku is semi-forced to not attack Kaede anymore by Natsuru. But also because...
I think this is also a good point, a good spot to point out a bit of a running gag, and that is that so many of the characters in this series, their names are references to their voice actresses.
Yeah.
In certain ways, yeah.
And in some cases, it's outright called out in a way that works where the joke works better in Japanese than it does in English.
Yeah, because they had to use the female voice actress's names from the Japanese version in the English version, which is a really good joke if you're someone who knows who the female voice actresses are, which I did. But to most people, it doesn't make sense, and of course, in Japanese, it'll make all the sense because, well, those are the actresses are making the jokes about themselves talking to each other. Mm-hmm. But finally, at the end of this all, because the female form of Natsuru has been seen around the campus a few times, Shizuku's like, by the way, I'm enrolling you as a girl as well.
And this is where it's important to note the unique nature of this school. That is completely segregated into a boy side and girl side, and both sides have very, very heavy security. And
the girl side has even more heavy security than the boy side, really. But on top of that, they also even have their own form of the fucking Berlin Wall. Literally outside there is a wall that has razor wire, concertina wire on the top.
Because dudes are pervs.
So are girls. Jesus Christ.
And that's going to be the big takeaway. In fact, shortly after Natsuru ends up entering the girls' side, things get a bit chaotic, and what would have been seen as a paradise from the outside becomes hell.
Yeah. We get to episode 3. Lily.
You!
We get to episode 3, Lily, Himitsu no Hanazono, or Lily, the Secret Flower Garden. When female Natsuru gets into the girls' side of the school, all of the girls are all like, she's so hot! And this is the point where you go, oh no. Every girl wants to touch her, talk to her, confess their love to her, confess their rivalry to her, ask her hand in marriage, and then the 3 most exploitative girls who, I'm sorry, even when they were first introduced, are complete and utter cunts with the way they treat anyone but the 3 of them, decide to exploit Natsuru to make money. But of course, at one point, Kaede pulls female Natsuru out of class because she feels that they're exploiting her, because they are. And Natsuru's bracelet begins flashing, letting him know that he's going to de-transform. And he runs away for a little while until he can stay transformed. And then he gets interviewed by the newspaper club, who writes a bunch of lies about him, including the fact that female Natsuru Seno is dating male Natsuru Seno. Ah, Narcissus, thy name is Natsuru. Well, no, it was Shizuku who specifically spread that rumor, excuse me. But yeah, there's a bunch of things said in the newspaper article that are bad, but Kaede's like, oh, that can't be possibly true. And then Shizuku goes, yeah, but by the way, those 2, they're dating. And Kaede freaks out. Natsuru goes to the library and transforms back to his guy, but Akane gets pissed at him and then trips on top of him, making it look like they were doing something in the library. And then Kaede catches them and says, I'm gonna steal female Natsuru from you, you 2-timing bastard cheating fuck.
Something to note about Akane, and this is the reason why we said that the ladies' side of the place is just as bad, if not worse, is she takes everything into the worst kind of double entendre. And I do mean everything.
Shy girl, wears glasses, slightly naive. She is, for lack of a better term, the pastor's daughter. It's always the quiet ones you have to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe actually I think the joke we made when it came to those 3 who kept finding ways to try and make money off of girl Natsuru are not far. They're basically trying to treat her like a idol.
Except it's an idol for a black company rather than an idol that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
He even tried to sell her underwear even though they didn't have it yet. But it's at the end of that episode that we get that the vow of, I'm going to steal girl Natsuru from you, boy Natsuru, not realizing they're the same person. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to episode 4. I'm going to butcher this one, and I love it. Kriegserklärung, which stands for Declaration of War, and then Tatakao Otometachi, which is Fighting Maidens.
This is. I think this is also a good time to point out that the episode previews between each episode have absolutely nothing to do with the events of the next episode or anything.
They're usually parodies of other things, like Die Hard.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there. But in episode 4, what we find out is, with the cultural festival of the school coming up, Shizuku enrolls girl Natsuru into the beauty pageant, or as it's called at the school, Miss Seitetsu Beauty Contest. While
This is a good time to remind everyone that Natsuru.
Oh, Coops?
Ooh.
Speak, dude, speak.
You cut out there, bro. Did we lose him?
Oops.
I said this is a perfect opportunity to remind everyone. The hell? Can you not hear me?
Now we can hear
We
you, but
hear
you're
you,
cutting
but
out.
you keep cutting off when you're trying to remind people of something.
Yeah.
I was
Microphone okay,
saying,
bro?
hey, this is a perfect opportunity. My mic's fine. It's just the connection, I think, on Discord.
Yeah, you're starting to robot a bit.
But not so. You know what? Fuck it. I'll wait till later.
Okay. I think what he's trying to remind everybody is Natsuru's a boy. I think that's what you were trying to remind people, right? But yeah, Natsuru's a guy.
It's a trap!
No, a trap would be a feminine-looking man dressed as a girl, like a Stolfo. He's literally just transformed into a woman. But this is still a guy mentally.
Yeah. And that did involve some awkwardness when it came to shopping.
Mm-hmm. But it's important to point out that this is one of the episodes that was really hard not to use our moratoriumed word, because at the very beginning, as male Natsuru is begging Shizuku not to enroll him in the beauty pageant, she asks him what he could do for her, and he starts putting the moves on her, putting his hands on her, and she tells him he's kind of bad at it. He says it's the first time he's ever done anything like this. And then we zoom out and it's a shoulder massage. But Akane, in her Kampfer form, comes in and starts shooting at the both of them, which, of course, means now Natsuru has to participate anyway. But Akane chooses to participate as well, which is kind of out of character for her.
Though we should note that there's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde thing with Akane. In her normal form, she is the shy glasses girl. On the other end, she's full tsundere.
No, in Kampfer, okay, so she's tsundere between the two forms. Mm-hmm. She's shy and slightly reserved, though that starts to change as the show goes on. In her non-Kampfer form. In her Kampfer form, she's fiery, passionate, and foul-mouthed. In both forms, she's got a thing for Natsuru, if that wasn't already obvious. But, Natsuru decides that he's going to do some sort of karaoke in his girl form, and goes, shopping for girly clothes with Akane, though Shizuku also eventually shows up. Shizuku shows up a lot when she's nowhere to be seen. It's kind of weird. Ninja bitch.
Yeah, ninja bitch, and kind of the stealth troll, which is probably the reason why I ended up picking on her the most, because let's be honest, some of the stunts she pulls, I would not be too far off from some of my stunts. I am the evil planner type of ripper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Except the problem is whether or not she's outright evil on it, even from day one, is hard to read.
She's a woman who knows what she wants. We just don't know what she wants. Mm-hmm. At least not yet. Now, the shopping trip eventually goes to a karaoke bar where Shizuku and Akane try to participate to sing in a duet with Natsuru. Kaede also shows up with them and tries to force a confession from girl Natsuru, but because he's about to transform back, there's an issue. Akane gets pissed at Kaede for trying to confess behind her back, and all of the women in there decide to join the beauty pageant along with Natsuru.
Mm-hmm. And chaos ends up ensuing because even the beauty pageant ends up being one giant series of references and in-jokes and becomes the best and worst theater show.
Yep. With that, we move on to episode 5, Komodi, Fast Kiss. I'm pretty sure you should all know what komodi means.
Mm-mm.
Comedy. But just before the beauty contest, the class starts having Akane and girl Natsuru test out different costumes. Except it's really just those 3 bitches again, using it to get bromides to sell to people. Those of you who don't know what a bromide is, go look it up.
Or go play the old Lunar games.
It's even used in modern games these days, Mug.
That was my first introduction to the words, so I had to make the joke.
Most people, I think it probably would have been, if they weren't interested in how old-timey photography looked, like I did. Anyway, they take a bunch of pictures and get exploited for that, but then they start going to changing their own clothes behind a curtain and also get exploited just for their silhouettes. But then Kaede shows up and is pissed off because Akane got to change with female Natsuru. But later, boy Natsuru meets up with Kaede and tries to give her some encouragement, although she still is pissed at him for allegedly cheating on his girlfriend. During the beauty contest, Natsuru really doesn't have an act. But then Kaede, because Kaede's still got a thing for girl Natsuru, goes on and throws a play having to do with the entrail animals and the princess of the entrail kingdom, and it was really fucking weird. But she eventually throws a bouquet into the audience. They almost kiss, but then Akane comes up in her Kampfer form and shoots at them to stop it. And then Shizuku appears with her chain daggers, knocks everybody out, wins the contest because of that, and takes Natsuru to the changing room. Even changes him back into his normal clothes. And he's a boy. And then she kisses him. Yes, Shizuku kisses Natsuru. But this is why I said keep track of them postcards, because at the very end of the episode, the girl who caught the bouquet was Natsuru's childhood friend Mikoto Kondo. And inside it, she finds an interesting little stuffed animal. Hitsoku Norainu, or strangled stray dog. So, that can't be good, can it? Who'd we lose?
Looks like we lost Coops. He's restarting Discord because it's been fucky. And
Yeah,
welcome back.
he kept getting cut off.
Yep. But after that, we move on to episode 6. Heimkehr, Tekika Mikataka, or Homecoming, Friend or Foe. Natsuru is surprised by Mikoto. Mikoto's like, hey, I'm here! Because she literally went into his house without his permission and made him breakfast. But eventually, Natsuru heads to school, but then starts transforming. So he leaves Mikoto behind. And when girl Natsuru gets to school, he is forced to participate in a maid cafe, except his maid outfit is skimpier than everyone else's. Later, Shizuku shows up and asks for Natsuru to service her. But it's really a cover to warn Natsuru that a new Kampfer is going to be joining up. And Kaede also joins them eventually. And Shizuku at this point is slightly distrustful of Kaede and tries to see if Kaede knows anything about the Kampfer or the entrail animal messengers. Kaede doesn't know anything, but then eventually asks Natsuru for a kiss, but settled for a date around the festival, and Natsuru's like, I don't want to kiss you as a girl. They eventually go to the haunted house together after Natsuru has promised that he'll spend the rest of the day with her. But then the new Red Kampfer shows up to fight him, so he has to run away so that Kaede doesn't get sucked into it.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. And as they fight, Natsuru eventually realizes that this new Kampfer is Mikoto. Akane also shows up and tries to stop them. And eventually Shizuku shows up and stops them all. Tells Natsuru and Akane to detransform. And when Natsuru detransforms, that maid costume really no longer flatters him. And it freaks out Mikoto. But Akane also freaks out Mikoto because Mikoto and Akane have also been friends for a long time too. Shizuku then calls for a truce because she wants to find out more about why the Kampfer fight. And Natsuru is then reminded that, he left Kaede behind. So he goes to the roof as girl Natsuru goes to apologize for abandoning her in the haunted house. And Kaede's like, spend the night at my house. And that's when we all started hearing brown chicken, brown cow in our head.
Or if you've been following any of the ladies, you're thinking, "Oh, this will be a good evening of innocent situations."
X'd it out, indeed. But with that, we get to episode 7, Einladen, Mane Karezaru Kyakutachi, or Invitation, the Uninvited Guests.
Oh no.
So Natsuru starts going to Kaede's domicile, but eventually is joined by Akane and Shizuku, and finds out that Akane lives in the swankiest apartment building ever in a fucking penthouse. But that penthouse is decorated like a... I feel like Ted Bundy would feel at home here. Because Kaede's entire house is covered in entrails, animals, memorabilia, and merchandise.
Oh yeah.
That is not a red flag by that point. That is having one of those big ass flags that you see in hockey games. You know the ones, Maddie.
Oh yeah.
No, I would say that this is equivalent of a giant red laser shooting across the sky.
Saying danger, you dumbass.
Danger, danger, Natsuru Seno. Yes. When they're in her house, the entrails animals have gone with all 4 of their hosts. So there's one that I skipped over a bit, and that is Shizuku's entrail animal, Panden Yamaneko, or electrocuted wildcat.
Who
and so
I believe is voiced by Nana Mizuki.
Yes.
Because again, there was that joke made about how I think one of the other entrail animals said you sound like a poor woman's Nana.
Yes.
Which was the joke.
Yes. But this means that the tiger, the rabbit, the wildcat, and the dog have all followed them there, and they start eating and drinking refreshments, which just go right through them because they're stuffed animals. While at the same time, the girls are drinking and eating. And remember, Natsuru had to show up as girl him. Yes, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. And then Kaede's like, let's play the Pocky game. For those of you who do not know what the Pocky game is, because you are too young and naive, it is a game where 2 people take a Pocky stick, put it in between their lips, and start biting pieces off, getting closer and closer until they either kiss or someone breaks the Pocky stick on accident.
Mm-hmm.
It's a romantic game.
She is trying the thing is, it's decided randomly, and she keeps getting screwed. It's like how everybody else is with the dice gods in the temple.
Yep. And
Rejected!
yes, exactly. I think part of that is they're using Ghost Leg or Ghost Ladder. For those of you who don't know what that is, I guarantee you've seen it before. It's those mazes made of 4 vertical lines with horizontal lines connecting them, and you just have to follow the line, taking every turn that you come to, and then getting to the bottom. It's called Ghost Leg or Ghost Ladder in Japan, at least. I don't know what it's called here in the West. But because of the efforts of Akane, I'm pretty sure, everybody gets paired with everybody else except Natsuru and Kaede. And this it's very clear that Akane's trying to stop them from pairing up. The first time that it happens, Akane actually gets paired with Shizuku, and Shizuku and her make it to the end of the Pocky Stick, but Shizuku really goes for it. Like, they kiss, and then Shizuku's just like, yeah, here, have some tongue. And completely shorts out Akane for a second. You get the whole steaming head and everything. And Shizuku's comment is, I'd rather kiss a cute boy, though. And Kaede's like, oh, you've done that? She's like, mm-hmm. Akane then gets Natsuru at one point, but he intentionally breaks the Pocky Stick. And when they're like, oh, we're all out of Pocky, Kaede's like, don't worry, brings up a bag full of fucking 20 Pocky containers. I've got more!
I am kissing Natsuru whether you like it or not.
But then that never comes to be. And after they end the game, she takes her to the special room where all of her best entrails animal merchandise is, including a very old one called, well, hold on, Hyaburi Rayon, or Hyaburi Rayon, or Burnt Alive Lion. Honestly, they should have called him Immolated Lion. That would have been cooler.
That's what it's called in the dub.
I know. Immolated Lion. But then all of a sudden, somehow, Mikoto shows up in the door behind the rest of them and goes, Natsuru, where were you? You weren't at home! And my first question was, how did the bitch even get inside? This is like a high security swanky place. How'd she get into the fucking apartment when the door's closed and locked? We don't ask that question anymore. Mikoto can just apparently get wherever the fuck she wants.
Again.
She also... Yeah, but Mikoto is not Shizuku. I think they're all ninjas at this point, Monk. Akane shows up out of nowhere, Mikoto shows up out of nowhere, Kaede shows up out of nowhere, Shizuku shows up out of nowhere. The only one who doesn't is Natsuru, and that's because we're following him all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could do it if he wasn't on camera. In fact, he does do it when he's not on camera. But we'll get to that. But Mikoto brought curry. They start eating curry, including the entrails animals again. But then Shizuku splashes some, well, more like pours some on Natsuru's face to force Natsuru to take a shower. Natsuru wants to transform back, but Kaede keeps coming back every 5 seconds. Hey, do you need soap? Hey, do you need shampoo? Hey, do you need me to scrub your back? Hey, and he's like, fuck. I'm gonna have to stay a girl while I'm cleaning.
Where she shows up every single second, several times, to the point where girl Natsuru can't even take a shower.
But then finally, girl Natsuru chases her off and does take a shower. At one point, while Natsuru is taking a shower, Kaede tries to go in with her. Akane stops her. And then eventually, all of the girls are dressed in cute little nightgowns and pajamas with prints of their particular or at least prints of different entrails animals on them, except for female Natsuru, who's just given a giant entrails animal onesie.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, Kaede tries to get him to sleep in the same room as her, but all of the girls shuffle around until Natsuru is forced to sleep in the room of entrail animals merchandise that is the oldest and best that she has. You know, not creepy at all.
Definitely not making people.
Or, any of one of our rooms, really.
Yeah, but I think with all of us, it's a variety show of things we like, not hyper-focused on one thing to the exclusion of everything else like this.
Not hyper-focused on one thing and not hyper-focused on something that is grisly torture animals.
Mm-hmm.
But as he's laying down to go to sleep, he actually transforms back into a man, but then Kaede comes in. And he's like,
the worst time ever.
He's like, oh, shit, transform back, because he still can't completely control his transformation. And Kaede tries to seduce him, thinking he's female Natsuru. Even opens up the back of the pajamas, which had a zipper on the front, so why is there also a zipper on the back? I don't know. I'm not going to ask.
I'm not going to question it.
But just as she's about to, Akane comes into the room in her Kampfer form, trying to confess to Natsuru, and that allows Natsuru to transform back into a girl, because proximity to transform Kampfer help him stay transformed. And as she's about to confess, there's a window that's smashed in, and they're attacked by another Kampfer, Rika Ueda, who, when she uses a Kusarigama, but Natsuru is the first to notice that Rika does not wear a red or a blue bracelet. No, a third slap bracelet has entered the fray, the white slap bracelets. Yes, I did make a joke about white slap bracelet superiority at that time. No, I don't feel bad for it.
We all saw the joke of... We all saw the joke of the White Power Ranger.
Boo!
White Ranger, Tiger Power.
Jeez,
He said he would never write that. He would never write that type of song again. He did. I'm not kidding.
I believe it.
He actually did.
Yeah, I was going to say, Maddie.
But the way
Maddie,
you phrased that line just made it even worse. Made it even worse.
That's kind of the point.
Let's not forget that.
I hate it when people use that. Of course, it's Jason David Frank, but at the same time, come on, stop it. That was not meant to be racist at the time.
It was never meant to be racist.
Come on, you know how Toku Twitter is.
A bunch of immature assholes who don't know what they had in front of them until it's gone. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
But Riku Ueda fights Natsuru and Akane for a little while until Shizuku shows up and chases her off. And Natsuru goes to check on Kaede, and Kaede is asleep. But it is also at the end of this episode that Shizuku starts wondering, am I jealous?
No.
But after that episode, we get to episode 8. Liebste, Hajimete no Deito.
Now, I can't honestly decide whether to say duh, adoy, or a very sarcastic, oh, really?
That's a good one, Maddie. Thank you. The translation
for almost every occasion. What can I tell you?
You're a good man. You're a good man, Maddie J. But Liebste Hajimete no Deto is sweetheart, the first date. And this episode is fan-fucking-tastic.
This is there are certain stories that I like to call a comedy endurance test. A comedy endurance test is how much material can you get out of one joke. In this particular joke, it is Shizuku taking boy Natsuru on a date. Natsuru, the entire time, thinks that this is bait to try and lure out the white Kampfer.
Because of the fact that Natsuru, A, doesn't think he's of any interest to Shizuku. He thinks there's no possible way she could be interested in him. B, he has no real interest in her either, because he's completely devoted to Kaede. And C,
he's denser than lead.
Yes, this entire episode is what proves that Natsuru's intelligence is extremely rare.
Dummy! Yeah! Dummy! Yeah!
Yeah! God damn it. But, he's this entire thing, he's like, we're doing this to get the white Kampfer out. She's like, no, we're on a date. He's like, nah. Okay, when is the white Kampfer gonna appear? And every time he talks about it as some sort of top secret thing, she's like, no, it's a date. And she's pretty insistent about it. And he just goes along with it. They go to an aquarium and he buys her a sea slug phone charm. Though she doesn't find that out till later.
Because she insists that part of a date is getting a gift, even if that gift looks terrible.
Even if that gift is chintzy, cheap, and terrible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go and have a picnic where she even feeds him, and he's kind of he's intimidated. Like, she asks him some pretty poignant questions. What do you think about me? And like, one of the things he says is, I think you're intimidating.
In all fairness, he isn't wrong, because the big problem with her is again, she is hard to read.
Hard to read and very, 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 very assertive. She knows what she wants and she tries to get it. But they have this big, long conversation, and Shizuku asks Natsuru, why do you like Kaede? And he's like, do you really need a reason to like somebody? Which was actually a poignant point by him. Again, that extremely rare nugget of wisdom and truth inside of him. And then Shizuku's like, I think Kaede's involved with the moderators. And he's like, no, that couldn't be the case. She's too nice for that. Then he falls asleep on her lap. And he has a dream. A pretty interesting dream.
Mm-hmm.
And wakes up with his head on Shizuku's thighs. The traditional hizamakura, or a thigh pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And he freaks out. And he thinks that she's asleep when he wakes up, but she's not. But that's the end of their date. The white Kampfer never showed up. He starts walking Shizuku back to her place, but Mikoto finds them. And is not happy, thinks that Natsuru went on a date. He's like, no! This was a plan to get the white Kampfer! She's like, you're a lying bastard! He's like, Shizuku, back... He's like, no, he says, Council President, back me up! She's like, Shizuku. It's like, what? She's like, use my name. And he says, Shizuku-san. She says, drop the honorifics. He's like, Shizuku. She's like, thank you. I had a great date. And throws him right under the bus. It is fantastic. Throws him right under the bus. At that point, Akane comes around his house later when he finally gets home, because Mikoto told her about what happened with the date, and asks him what type of girls Natsuru likes. He's like, Kaede. She's like, what if Kaede was out of the picture? And he's like, I guess it would be someone like you, Akane. Which, makes her extremely excited to the point that she transforms and's like, you're going on a date with me next. And they plan a date, a weekend date, that'll be just the two of them. Oh, how just the two of us doesn't work in this situation. But with that, we get to episode 9, Hossama Koi no Netai te Kyatsu, which is Midsummer Tropical Depression of Love. Netai te Kyatsu? That's a really long word. 5 kanji. Wow. She wants to have a nice date with Natsuru at a water park, where they're going to even spend the weekend in a hotel and watch fireworks. But
you know how
the
it
rest
is
of the
with
girls
beach
grow up.
episodes.
Yeah. You can't just have 2 hotties, you have to have all the hotties. It's at this point that we should also note that the eye catches every episode have the girls show up in clothes that then fade to less clothes every time.
And I think with one of them, they in all but name made a Hatsune reference.
They did. And then they took off the Hatsune Miku stuff, and it was just one of the girls.
Mm-hmm.
But they all go to the pool. Kaede doesn't like that male Natsuru is there, wants to see female Natsuru, and was essentially half promised by Shizuku that female Natsuru would show up later, which is just more pressure on male Natsuru. You may be wondering, 9 episodes in, why didn't this motherfucker just smash his bracelet and say, fuck y'all? Again, his moments of wisdom are few and far between.
Like,
Dummy, yeah. Dummy, yeah.
Yeah.
Dummy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But, Kaede wants to learn
I'm not going to stop hitting that one every time Miss Intelligence is a question, because, ladies and gentlemen, he is indeed...
Dummy, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The, Natsuru, Kaede says she doesn't know how to swim, so Natsuru says he'll teach her. She's like, fuck that, Shizuku teach me. Akane says she also can't swim, so Natsuru teaches Akane. I don't know how any of these girls can't swim living in fucking Japan. But
it's not like you're surrounded by water or anything.
Indeed. But while they're hanging out, Shizuku notices 3 unique-looking girls, and as we all know from anime, if someone's unique-looking, there's something important about them. Passing behind Kaede, all sharing a look for like a brief split second before they keep walking. Kind of weird. But at that point, Shizuku sends Natsuru to go walk to go get refreshments for them after she's transformed into a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's transformed into a girl. And he goes alone, he's like, what the fuck's going on here? This isn't even the right way. And female Natsuru sees a girl in front of him who's like, oh, hey, can you help me? And gets dunked on by 3 white Kampfer named Sayaka Nakao, Ryoka Yamakawa. I believe Ryoko was the one that acted like a tsundere for no reason. And Hitomi Minagawa. Each one of them has a gun, a sword, and light powers. And it's at this point that we need to explain, because of this is where some of the terrible slaughtering of German goes. There are 3 types of Kämpfer. There are the Schwert, or sword Kämpfer, the Gewehr, or gun Kämpfer, and the Zauber, or magical powers Kämpfer. I haven't actually translated that word to see what it actually means. But it's magical powers. Energy emission of some sort. Zauber would be what Natsuru is, because she throws fireballs. But some of the female voice actresses, when they introduce themselves as Schwert, Gewehr, and Zauber, really slaughter that German. I remember one of them said "schwiert," and I was like, "I'm done." But they all attack her, and then Akane shows up, and Shizuku shows up to stop them, and Shizuku then goes, "By the way, you were just bait." And
It's also
kind of
worth
pisses off
noting that
Natsudo.
all three of these white Kampfer, every one of their names is once again a voice actress joke.
Yep.
Specifically, the voice actress for each of the characters.
Yep. But after Shizuku reveals Natsuru as bait, the white Kampfer run away because they don't want to fight a 3-on-3. And we then skip to male Natsuru and the girls having a fun time in the hotel room playing games and talking and stuff. And both Akane and Mikoto are pissed that Natsuru went on a date with Shizuku, and then Shizuku grabs Natsuru and just gives him this deep kiss, which causes Akane to like faint, and Mikoto to freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kaede asks Natsuru to go outside with her, and his eyes change a little bit when she does. And then when she pulls him outside and says, "You're going to come with me to watch the fireworks," his eyes are even more blank. And Kaede's face has also changed from the slightly ditzy, vapid face she has all the time to something sharper. Something a little more sinister. And with that, we get to episode 10, Fall, Hitonatsu no Keiken, or Trap, a Summer Experience. This is where It's a Trap can come in, Maddie. But Natsuru is suddenly sitting next to Kaede outside the hotel looking up at the...
Yep.
Thank you, man.
Give me a
It's a
heads
tarp.
up on that shit, man.
It's okay. Natsuru is suddenly outside sitting down on some grass next to Kaede, and she's actually quite close to him, which is something he would love. Who is hypnotizing him and eventually says, "You need to make Shizuku yours." And he freaks out at first. He's like, "No, I can't do that. I love you." She's like, "But it would make me happiest if you would suddenly make Shizuku yours." And he's like, "What do you mean by make Shizuku mine?" And she's like, "Well, you know," and does some very suggestive things about making Shizuku his. And eventually he is... He's eventually convinced to make Shizuku his because it would be helping Kaede, and he wants to help Kaede. But suddenly Akane is about to find them, so Kaede disappears. And Natsuru remembers nothing from the time that Kaede asked him to leave the room to now. And then eventually Shizuku and Mikoto also show up. And they're all in their Kampfer forms, and they're all thinking that he's an asshole. And he's like, "But I didn't do anything. I don't even remember coming out here. I didn't see the fireworks with anybody. What are you talking about?" And they get back to the room, and Kaede is there. And Kaede's like, "I didn't watch fireworks with Natsuru either." He's like, "See?" And they still think that he's an asshole. Because this is one of the more negative tropes in harem comedy of this time period. Even if you can prove you did nothing wrong, you're still the bad guy. It's fucking stupid. And then Natsuru goes back to female Natsuru, and they go to the onsen in the hotel. And that's where Natsuru is getting slightly argued over between Akane, Mikoto, and Kaede. But then Kaede walks off, and Akane and Mikoto continue talking and slightly fighting with each other. And so female Natsuru is just kind of fucking done with the day. Goes into one of the other onsen pools and is now sitting next to Shizuku, where that sudden burst kicks in. He's like, "Let's go back to the room." And when they get back to the room, Natsuru starts being really assertive with her. And she likes it. She's like, "So you know what you want now, and you want me, and I'll give you all of my firsts." And he's like, I'll make you mine. And she's like, what do you mean you'll make me mine? Or make me yours? And he's like, I'll make you mine because Kaede told me to. And she's like, oh, god damn it. And punches him and knocks him out.
Aren't we on the anniversary of that episode of Hollywood Squares as well this month?
To the month, yeah. Hollywood Squares, Tom Bergeron, Whoopi Goldberg, and that was Gilbert Gottfried.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then she knocks him out, and she's like, I really would have let you have my first if it wasn't for that. So he blew it really, really badly. This is where I would probably use the... It! Yes, thank you! Thank you! The "you blew it" line for Billy Madison. Thank you. God damn it, Maddie, we are connected.
Just good timing.
By the black thread of fate.
That was last time, though.
Please no. Please no.
Don't worry, Coops.
Oh God, please no.
Son of a...
Nope.
Monster! Why the
Nope.
does all this
Nope.
happen to me?
Nope.
My life, always surrounded by miserable
Nope.
pink
Nope.
like this whole world just likes to bend me over and
Nope.
me in the
Nope.
like I'm some sort of
Nope.
receptacle. Well, as far as I care, these miserable
Nope.
can have a fancy barbecue with a goddamn pig.
Gotta love how that uses the Dean Ambrose nope.
It's an old one.
That's a pretty good one.
But a goodie.
But Coops, don't worry. It's just how I show my love.
Fuck you, bitch.
But after he's knocked out, we actually get a slight scene that reveals Kaede with the 4 white Kampfer, and they're all enamored of her and call her mistress.
All right, folks, this entire thing is oh my. All right, I'm not hitting the pun.
Oh my. Okay. But at that point, when they're leaving the hotel the next day, Kaede is walking behind Shizuku, and then all of a sudden we get the sharp-faced, sinister Kaede we saw before, who comes right up to her and says something in her ears that says, you missed your only chance. Now, to do it with Natsuru, is basically what she says. And then Shizuku freaks out, turns around, and sees Kaede like 10 feet behind her. Goes, did you say something, Kaede? She's like, no, I didn't say anything. But Shizuku's fully on guard at that point. And with that, we move to episode 11. Velen, or Kanki no Uta, or Choice, Ode to Joy. That's relevant, by the way. So Shizuku and Natsuru meet at her house, where it's revealed that Shizuku stole Immolated Lion from Kaede's house, and is actually the first messenger, and threatens and beats the lion to get him to tell them about the Kampfer system. Because she once had a close friend named Tamiko, who was killed in a Kampfer battle, and she wants to just break down the whole system because they took her friend from her. And Immolated Lion reveals that this is a proxy war being waged by 2 ultra-powerful civilizations from another universe.
It's not even clear if it's civilizations or just cosmic forces.
They did say 2 planets, and he said that they were being moderated.
Either way, the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the big thing is that the moderators are the ones enforcing this war. They're the ones who choose who become Kampfer and all of that. And when we're shown the animatic, we're shown that one side is red and one side is blue, and the moderators are shown in white. And this is the implication that the white Kampfer are moderator Kampfer, essentially, to put the proxy war back into motion, because the blue and red Kampfer are on a truce. But after finding all this out, Natsuru goes to Kaede's house, where he waffles in front of her door for a while, freaking out one of the other people in the apartment building who's going there, and confronts her. And Kaede's like, yeah, by the way, tell Shizuku that I hope she's treating my immolated lion well. And then she hypnotizes him again and forces him to turn into a girl. And this is where we had to review some of the footage in Japanese and in English to see if the translation was accurate, and it mostly is. Except the Japanese is actually slightly harsher than what we get in English, because Kaede eventually says, "I hate men. I don't want them. I don't need them. I just want you to be a girl forever," essentially, and forces Natsuru to transform into a girl and try to stay in that transformation. In the Japanese,
Andress.
in the Japanese, she doesn't just say, "I hate them. I don't want them. I don't need them." She says, "I hate them. I don't want them. I have no use for them."
Long story short,
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Yes,
mostly
precisely.
the son of a bitch part. But
yes,
yeah.
he is
Yeah.
the Hauer Power.
Yes. But now that she has Natsuru under her control, she has Natsuru call the other girls to the roof of the school, where it's a trap to fight the White Kampfer. And they actually beat the White Kampfer. But then Natsuru, in his girl form, appears out of nowhere. This is the one time he gets to ninja, because he's been off camera. And fireballs them with the biggest fireball he's ever cast, because apparently while he's hypnotized, he actually can control his powers really well and is really powerful. Which knocks them all out, and they wake up chained up. At that point, Kaede, reveals herself as the mastermind to the rest of them, even though Shizuku already guessed it and Natsuru already knows it. And it's like, "Okay, Natsuru, blast these girls into oblivion and you can be with me forever as your girl self." But the cell phone charm that Shizuku has is poking out of her pocket, and it brings Natsuru back to his senses. And he says, "I may love you, Kaede, but I'm not going to betray my friends for it." And but what this does is it superpowers Shizuku, Akane, and Mikoto to break out of the chains and start singing a German...
Triple H's old the wrestling theme, the Ode to Joy.
Well, no. The German lyrics are not the Ode to Joy. It's specific to Kampfer. It's lyrics that are specific to Kampfer.
I know, but for those playing the game, like at this point, we're just fucking around here.
It's gonna have the same rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same rhythm and same melody. It's just different lyrics. And they beat up the White Kampfer, and Kaede tries to entice Natsuru, like, "No, you need to stay a girl and stay with me and beat your friends." And he de-transforms. So that Kaede can't try and re-hypnotize him. And also says that, tells her how he feels and everything. And she's like, "Ew! I don't want to be told that by a boy!" But also because he's confessing to Kaede, and Kaede and the White Kampfer retreat. At that point, Shizuku, Akane, and Mikoto are all pissed at him for confessing in the first place. And they start grabbing him to make him touch them to try and seduce him, like grabbing his hand and putting it on their boobs, or grabbing his hand and putting it on their ass, or grabbing his hand and putting it in between their thighs, and kissing him and doing all of that fun shit.
Bitches be thirsty.
Yes. Yes, they do. But that's the end of episode 11. And we get to episode 12. And I know I'm going to probably slaughter this, and all the Germans in the audience are going to cry, and I don't give a shit. Weihnachten Zomotsutachi no Kiseki. Or Christmas, the miracle of the entrails dolls.
Yeah, after the story naturally finishes,
Or at least comes to an arc end.
yeah, we end up with a Christmas episode that comes right the hell out of nowhere. I mean, let me check when this episode aired. Maybe it did air around December 17th, 2009. Okay, that explains it.
That makes sense.
And I should note before you go into this that there is one particular trope that even Japan is sick of, at least when it shows up in surveys regarding Sentai, and that is the body swap. Now, I do sympathize. I really do. There have been plenty of bad body swaps or age swap episodes of various shows. However, I don't think the concept of doing it itself is bad. It's how it's done. And there is one other example that Zan and I have seen recently, where it's the case of, yes, it's a body swap, but it ends up being way too well done to write it off. And that was when King Oger did it a few weeks ago.
Spoilers, by the way, dude.
I'm not spoiling any details. I'm simply saying the cast involved had a lot of fun with it, and it really shows.
I won't get into details of that episode either, but I will say this: it's a body swap episode done right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, the key, as in many things, is in execution.
Mm-hmm. This episode, I'm pretty sure this episode was just a joke.
They ran out of material and said, fuck it, let's give them what they want. And a body swap episode to make them regret it.
I don't think they ran out of material. At that point, at the point when this was made, the manga had already been releasing for over a year. So they probably had like 3 or 4 volumes of the manga. And the light novel had been releasing for 3 years. So they definitely had material. They just didn't have budget. Or they didn't want to start a new arc now that they'd finished one.
Mm-hmm. Plus,
the
whole 12 episodes thing, but they kind of finished in 11. And this isn't like Noitamina where you could get away with that.
Yeah. Well, and this is before the 12-episode cour was actually popular. This is still back when 26 and 24-episode seasons were the common thing. I think back in 2009, Nomad was a bit smaller than it is now and couldn't afford to get more. But be that as it may, this last episode has nothing to do with the previous 11 episodes other than featuring the same characters. But all 4 of the disemboweled animals, the entrails dolls, have switched into their users' bodies, including giving them ears and a tail that are real. And all of the original cast is now in their entrails dolls. And here we get the role reversal of disemboweled tiger throwing Natsuru into the trash can. Because now Natsuru is the tiger plushie.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
But disemboweled tiger...
but ding!
Yep. Disemboweled tiger actually dresses in a very racy outfit that he had originally picked out for female Natsuru, hoping to see her do it at some point. And then goes outside and finds Mikoto, Shizuku, and Akane, who are in their school uniforms, but also are entrails animals. And it's here when they all meet up that we get the theme for the episode. It's so great to be alive!
Stock footage.
Yep.
transformations were mostly stock footage too, except for Mikoto's, which we only ever saw once at the very end of the show. We never saw her transform in a transformation sequence until then. But they go around. The first thing they do is they get food, and the food is fantastic to them because it never tasted like this when they were stuffed animals. But when they try to leave, it's the same three bitches who perform exploitation on Natsuru, and they say that the bill is 899,000 yen.
That's a lot of food.
I mean, it was a normal hot pot, wasn't it?
Then bullshit.
Yes, it's just those three being bullshit and trying to exploit them and extort them. And they for context, right now with the Japanese yen to USD, if you look at 899,000 yen, that's $5,998. Which at that time it would have been even higher because the exchange rate wasn't as bad between yen and USD. I believe it was more 80 cents than it was the 67 cents it is now. 67 cents per 100 yen. Anyway, they are sent down a chute to start entertaining a bunch of living entrails animals in a giant amphitheater, doing things like dressing up in sexy outfits and eventually even stripping to nothing. Which Kaede walking past hears this going on and stops them all. And here we get the best part of another running joke in this episode, which is, you look like Natsuru, but you sound different and look different, so you must not be Natsuru. Or no, you sound different and are wearing ears and a tail, so you must not be Natsuru. Mm-hmm. And the same joke goes on, but Kaede doing it is the funniest most of all. She's like, you guys don't need to degrade yourselves like this, come with me. And she even pays off their bill. And again, we get the joke of, it's great to be alive. And she takes them to the Entrails Animals amusement park. Where first they play some, they do some normal rides, play some normal games, but then they play this very interesting game where she's put up on a scoreboard where they basically play reach the body part fastest as spins are made.
Perv game, though.
Yeah, they start licking things like her ears and her toes and her hands and, well, everything else that gets licked and rolled. And she eventually finds her own joy. But afterwards, she's like, I've been using you for my own benefit. And she runs away to a church and tries to confess to the sin of committing so many indecent acts with so many beautiful women. But then the nuns all tell her she's a terrible wanton woman and she will need to be punished for her sins. Which is just them exploiting her for money as well. I do need to note that those three women who have been exploiting everybody are the rest of the student council. They're the vice president and the secretary and the treasurer. They're fucking terrible.
They are.
But eventually, they try to save Kaede from being exploited. The four girls that are possessed by entrails animals they show up to try and save Kaede from being exploited, and they bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah, and say we came to save you. She's like, fantastic. But then they start arguing with each other and they hit each other. And they're like, oh my god, this pain! I never felt this type of pain when I was a stuffed animal.
This is what pain feels like.
Yep. And they're like, this is fantastic! And they start fighting each other, and then we get it's so great to be alive, except they're all beat up. And they say goodbye to Kaede, and ride off on a magic sleigh. and we learn that this is some weird Christmas story from a dad that looks like male Natsuru and a mom that looks like female Natsuru talking to their kid that looks like a blue-haired child abomination of two Natsurus. And the real Christmas sleigh is Kaede dropping the 4 entrail animal stuffies that are now the cast down onto this village. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a campy body swap episode that's just there to fuck around and have fun.
It's your standard Christmas episode that means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things.
But there is one last Wisco Tango Foxtrot. And I know I screwed it up, but in my defense...
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. There we go. Yeah. Moving on.
Is a because this whole thing is apparently done in the style of a bedtime story.
Yep, a Christmas bedtime story to a little girl who is apparently the daughter of female and male Natsuru put together.
Yeah, because apparently the choice at the end was Natsuru himself in a unconvincing mustache.
Mustache.
Yep.
Mustache.
Mustaches.
Yep. But with that, we reach the confusing end to a confusing show that's all about the fan service.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to note that there wasn't much of an internal audio identity to the show, but audio engineering, such as for voices, was done really well.
Yeah.
The opening and ending were good, but they're also kind of the type of schlock you expect from a show like this.
The only thing was that the ending gave us some serious whiplash. The ending,
literally and figuratively,
because of how the ending theme worked.
Yep. But with all of that in mind, last few things to note. The English voice actors are some names you'll recognize, some names you won't. They're all really good. For example, with Natsuru Seno, for his male voice, we have Howard Wang, and Sabrina Owen for his female voice. Kaede Sakura was Avery Smithart. Akane Mishima was Brittany Karbowski. Shizuku Sango was Caitlin Barr, and Mikoto Kondo was Christina Kelly. Some other ones you might recognize: Margaret McDonald, Juliet Simmons, Kira Vincent Davis, Savannah Menzel, and even Immolated Lion had Andrew Love. The white Kampfers were Natalie Rial, Christy Guidry, Caitlin French, and Shelby Blocker. And then there were plenty of other characters who appeared that I'm not going to go through the rest of the cast, I think. But some of these names you'll know, some of them you won't. They all did a fantastic job, including doing even the Japanese jokes justice.
Which is saying something, because a lot of those tend to miss.
Mm-hmm.
If only because you're dealing with jokes in another language, and more often than not, that's not going to land.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never gotten confirmation, but I'm pretty sure that particular pendulum swings both ways. I'm fairly certain there are jokes that will work perfectly well in English, but in other languages, especially the further east you go, a little bit less so.
Yeah. But with that all being said, I'm pretty sure we're ready to move on to our final judgments. Now, before we do, I'd like to note that there are two good brothers who could not join us who were with us on this journey. The first being good brother JT. I am going to assume from his enthusiasm during all of the parties he attended, he would naturally vote Weeb. And good brother Flutter, who is unfortunately under the weather. His ruling is weeb, and he says this is a series you watch with friends and have fun, despite the main character being a dunce. And so, Brother Matty, what do you have for me?
For ranking, dude, what? This is just straight fun. Just straight fun. And sometimes it could be a little too, the fan service could be a little too much, but sometimes you just need to eat your cheese and just have fun with it and just laugh. This was straight up what that was. Weeb all the way.
All right. And with that, we have 3 votes of weeb. Brother Akira, what do you got for me?
As this temple's resident waifu hunter, I will say that it had a lot of fan service, which honestly good for someone like me, but could be a turnoff for somebody else. And like what both Maddie and Flood said, it's fun, stupid fun. Even caught me off guard a couple times, and I was pretty much just saying, "Hey, yo," the whole entire time. However, sometimes I think it could be a little bit too much. So, thinking about it now, I personally would give this weeb, but your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
Okay. We have 4 votes of weeb. Monk, hit me with it.
I'm not going to mince words. This particular anime is really, really dumb. The thing is, though, it knows it is dumb. If you're going to be stupid, don't half-ass it. And while there are some tropes that are a nuisance to me, the big one being a main character who lacks any sort of assertiveness and is so damn passive. I know that I have to grade this on a curve because it was the fucking style at the time. But putting that aside, this is all about antics comedy. And for people who like that kind of thing and like a bit of fan service with their antics comedy, and the two of them are hand in hand, that is certainly going to appeal. I will note that because we're dealing with 2000s era anime, this is another case where if you want more of the story, you're going to have to go with either the manga or the light novel. I'm pretty sure the manga is available in English. Both of them have different endings, because of fucking course they do. Which makes me think they're also trying to take the piss out of visual novels as well as magical girls. If you're looking for a straight up parody of magical girls, there are better options. But if you want some dumb fun, this is the kind of thing to go for. So for that, I'm going with weeb.
All right, we have 5 votes of weeb. As for myself, there have been multiple points made that I would just reiterate. This is a product of its time. It has an MC that is not assertive enough for his own good. But I would also like to point out that this also has all the other harem tropes of the 2000s. So that is both a caution for those who didn't like those tropes and a green flag for those who did. I'm kind of disappointed by the lack of an audio identity. It was a little bit of a letdown there, except for the weird-ass Kampfer Ode to Joy. That was slightly nightmare fuel. High-octane nightmare fuel, even. But it is good, dumb fun. If you're looking for good, dumb fun, if you're looking for a show you might want to make a drinking game for, but if you're going to make a drinking game for it, only do 1 episode a fucking week.
We do not encourage or condone people drinking themselves to death watching this.
Yes.
And if you do, we are not responsible.
Yes. And if you want something where you and your friends can kind of just turn off your brains and laugh along at bullshit, this is it for you. Kampfer will definitely suffice for that. And so I also vote this weeb. And with 6 votes of weeb and none of scrub, this parliament finds Kampfer to be weeb.
Yep. I'm not going to be covering the full light novel. I don't have that kind of time. I still have to go through the Lodos novels, which I've been trying to avoid going through it because Legend of Lodos is going to be a long read. But now that we've given it our vote of weeb, it is time for us to spin the wheel to see what we're doing next. So, let me just mute the things so you don't hear the applause at the end. So, who's ready to spin the wheel and make the deal?
Do it.
Alright. Wheel of Weebery, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the anime we should learn from. The World in Colors.
Yeah! This is one of the ones I suggested.
Well, tune back in a few weeks as we cover that one. And of course, while I was down and out over the weekend, don't this isn't on you, Maddie. Even if you were here on Saturday, I wouldn't have been in any condition to do Cloister.
It was just bad timing for a lot of us, really.
Yeah. We are reassessing regarding Geeks. I know I had said I would do that on the 1st, but I didn't start feeling better until Sunday evening.
Yeah, shit happens.
I'm still not 100%. So as far as that goes, we're looking into things as far as when. But I will be continuing the interviews Thursday and Friday. Joel's gonna be revisiting to talk about Dawn. It's always fun to have Joel on. Tabletop Journeys will be visiting on Wednesday. In fact, they actually sought me out, which is always amusing when that happens. Thursday we'll be continuing our look at Brass and Steel with Monarch for Valley of the Judged. Friday we are finally getting to the vocations in Planetbound with myself and Zan. So the vocation focus is going to be akin to when we do class focuses for certain games. Saturday will of course be Cloister the Dice, and I will also be interviewing Sam Barker. I hope. We're still working that out because time zones. And of course, this Sunday will be the return of Geek Watch, and prepare your butcher knives, folks. If you know, you know. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.